Ultimately, we'd like to be able to send people a direct link to where they can create a new classified. In this lecture, we'll see how to implement the new classified state that will take users to our app with the sidebar open and ready to accept new classifieds. Alright, so let's continue with our refactoring here. The first thing that we're going to want will be some subdirectories within our components classifieds directory here that will house all of the pieces for our new and our edit components. We're going to need components for new classifieds and components for editing classifieds. So let's set that up at the command line. We're going to see how we can use some more commands here to move files around and that sort of thing. So here within ng classifieds, let's change directories into components. And let's take a look there. So we've got our classifieds directory that we made last time, and then our controller and our factory for classifieds here. So now let's move those two files into the classifieds directory. So we'll say we want to move, mv for move, classifieds.ctr.js, and also classifieds.fac.js. And then the last thing that we tack on to this command will be the destination. So in this case, it's classifieds. So looking again, we have just our classified subdirectory now. Let's change directories into that and let's take a look. So we've got everything there. We're going to want to make a new directory and we'll just call it new, and then make another new directory called edit. All right, so everything looks to be in place in there. Let's go into our new subdirectory and let's create some more files. We'll do touch classifieds.new.template.html, and then we'll also want a controller as well. So CTR for controller, and then of course we'll need it to be a JS file. So let's take a look at that. All right, so let's go into edit now. So we'll do cd edit, and we'll kind of want the same thing here, but we'll just change the naming up. So let's do classifieds edit, and then classifieds edit here for the controller. All right, so let's just check everything out here in Sublime to make sure it came through, and it looks like we did get our new files, so that's perfect. And what we'll want to do now is work on our classifieds/new state. And the files here within the new directory are going to be the ones that are used by that state. So let's set up another state here. We'll just copy everything that we already have and come to the end, paste it in, and then the state name is going to be classifieds.new. And then for the URL for that state, we can just say /new. We don't have to put anything like classifieds/new, even though that's how we'll access it. Just by naming it classifieds.new, UI router is going to know that this is a sub-state of our classified state. And the template URL, of course, is going to be classifieds/new/classifieds.new.tpl HTML. And we'll name that new classifieds controller. All right, so let's save that. And then here within the actual controller, let's set up our IFE. And we'll come over here and finish it out. All right, cool. So we'll do use strict. And then we'll say angular.module. And the module, of course, is ng classifieds. And then the controller we will call new classifieds controller. And then we'll give it our function, and let's inject some things we know that we'll need. So those will be things like md side nav and md dialog. And we'll also need the classifieds factory eventually too. All right, so now what we can do is define something within the controller body here. First, let's set up our capture variable. So var vm equals this. And so now let's think about what exactly we want this controller to do. If we recall from last time, we said that when we have the user go to classifieds/new, we want the sidebar to open up. So we want to have the case where the sidebar opens up and they're able to enter a new classified. So what we can try is we can say when this controller is hit, we can do md side nav left open, just like we have in our other controller. And so we can see if this works. Let's first, though, adjust our classifieds template so that we can actually get this additional state coming through. And so the spot that we'll want this new view to come through will be below the toolbar. So we can go down here below our toolbar closing div, and we can put another UI view. This will nest another view for our sub state. And then what we can do is we can come over here and take all of this HTML that makes up the side nav. So from the top here, MD side nav, over here to the bottom, MD side nav, we can cut that out and we can paste that into the new template. So we'll just paste that in there. And so let's save that. Maybe we can do a little bit to help out with our formatting. We'll come down here and we'll just back that up by 1. All right, so that looks good. Now let's save our classifieds template. Let's see what we get in the browser. So right away we've got some errors. Let's check out what's going on here. And so we've got classifieds controller is not a function. I think what we forgot to do is change up the routing for how things are brought in. So over here in our HTML, right, so what we need to do here is change up these routes. So components, it's now going to be classifieds controller, and then the same thing here. And we're going to need the script for our new classifieds controller as well. So let's just copy this, and let's say we want classifieds new controller. All right, let's see if this works now. So we refresh there, we have everything. And I'm still showing a 404, and right, we need to say classifieds new classifieds. Save that and check it out again. There we go. Everything is coming through fine now. All right, so what do we have? Well, we've got our new classified button here, and that is coming from our classifieds template. It's up on the nav bar, and it calls this open sidebar function. And this function is here within our classifieds controller. And open sidebar right now says MD side nav left open. And so now if we were to click this new classified, it doesn't show up, and that's because we've taken the HTML out of our view for our classified state, and we've put it into the view for the new state. So what we want to have happen now is when this button gets clicked, we want to navigate to classifieds/new. And so the way we can do that is we can come over here to our controller and we can make use of state. So we'll inject state here. This is provided by UI router, and it gives us some controls for navigation. So now we'll say that this open sidebar function, instead of trying to open the side nav directly, what we can do is navigate to a new state. And so we'll say state go, and then we'll say we want to go to classifieds new. And so now whenever this new classified button here is clicked, it's going to cause UI router to navigate to the classifieds new state. So let's make sure that works. Let's save that and refresh. So now let's test it out. If we click new classified, there we go. We're navigated to classifieds new. All right, so right now everything that we get when we're at the classified state is showing up just the same way when we're at classifieds new. And that's because of the way that we have things set up. Remember back over here within our template for classifieds, we've got this UI view here that shows us substates. But if you remember, we've already put in our side nav HTML within our classifieds new template, but it isn't showing up when we navigate to the classifieds new state. And so if we go back over to the controller for this, we've said we want the side nav to open whenever we navigate to the state. But it turns out the reason it's not opening has to do with the event loop. And we won't go into details about the browser's event loop in this course, but it's definitely good to dive into. What we will do though is we'll show how to fix it. And the way that we can fix it is with a timeout. So perhaps you've used timers in JavaScript before, like set timeout or set interval. Angular has its own specific implementation, and the way that we can use it is by injecting the timeout service. And all we need to do here is we need to say timeout, and then we pass it a callback. And then within this callback, we are going to have our side nav open. All right, so we can paste that in. The way that we would normally do it is set some kind of time, like 2 seconds, so that there is a delay of 2 seconds before it opens. But we can actually just leave that blank, and this will still serve its purpose. All right, so now let's check this out over in the browser. Let's get rid of new, so we just go back to our classifieds route and click new classified, and we are at the new route, but why aren't we getting the sidebar? Let's see. New classified controller is not a function. Sorry, we'll just troubleshoot this as we go. So over here, we've got new classifieds controller. And I see, we're missing an S there. All right, so let's see if that's good now. We'll refresh. We don't have the error. And here is our sidebar. So let's just get out of there and let's try this from the top. We go to classified, we click new classified, and there's our sidebar. All right, cool. So now this is the first step along the way. And what you can see is that if we were to take this link and say email it to somebody and they pasted it in their browser, they would get the side nav show up right away, which is what we want. So what we'll need to do now is figure out some way to pass data from our form in our new classified state here back to our classified state so that we can get the new listing showing up here. And we'll do that in the next video.